Well, hello everyone. Today we are doing a special session that is specifically about what Zana did during the first session. So, I have Jane with me here, and I wrote up a little something, and I'm going to go ahead and read this narrative bit, and then we will flow into Zana having a fun little session. So, I'm excited to get into this. Do you have Roll20 up? Yes, you do. You're seeing the map, yes? Perfect.
That's
Excellent.
correct.
Okay. All right, we will begin then. Zana. You spend a good amount of time meditating as you, Marco, and Everin rolled along the valleys and hills away from Montrace. You think about your new pen pal, Dahlia Cromwell. You promised her you'd keep an eye open for party supplies and regalia that Dahlia could incorporate into a future fancy dress ball. The cart stops. What was going on? Eustace just tosses a small wooden box of tea to your companions. You'd be stopping soon. You think about Theo Rucanus, the old fortune teller, the only Aasimar you'd met on your journey thus far. You recall the regret in his eyes as he explained why he could not return to the heavenly plains. What about this new prospective job in Yvray? After all, Lionel had said that he didn't make promises on your behalf. Then there was the Valley of Bones. If you have this ability to lift curses that form over time, what was your level of responsibility? What about what you want? You just wanted to travel and explore the mortal plane, not get wrapped up in their problems. You gaze off over the scenery as the sun sets. A little river runs alongside the road and heads off to the west. The last rays of light reflected off the smooth stones that sit proud of the water. The cart stops again. It's dark now. While Eustace, Colton, and Zwara start setting up the tents, you stand nearby, providing light. The things on your mind made rest impossible on the day's journey. You make small talk with them. Eustace is in his usual high spirits. Then Everin and Marco appear and decide to make sure that the area was secure. Eustace, holding his grandmother's kettle, mentions that they need water to make the tea. You volunteer to trot back in the direction of the river to do so. About a quarter of a mile away, you come to the riverbank. Parched, you decide to sip some of the fresh water. You very carefully place the kettle on a nearby log. You could discern that this river flows from the Royal Mountains. You think about the fight in the mountains with the bandits. Suddenly, you hear a voice from the darkness say, pull this up here. That's right. Just a little closer.
Hello?
Again, the voice responds, That's right. Just a little closer.
Do I see anything around?
That is a good question. With your heavenly aura, I will say that you can make a perception check with advantage.
Okay. The first one's a 23, but I'll roll a second one for fun.
Just for kicks and giggles. Go ahead.
All right, yeah, 23 works.
Okay. With a 23, you have to squint. But since you have this light aura emanating off of you, you're able to discern 3 little points of light a little ways off in the distance. It's very brief. It like whatever these points of light are catching off of the glowing energy that you have, but only for a split second.
You'll like look at it for another second and then be like, how about instead of me go closer to you, you come closer to me?
You would hear footsteps quickly retreating away from your position.
No, that's not closer, that's farther.
It keeps skittering away, moving away from you. And it doesn't sound like footsteps, it sounds more like hoofbeats against the ground.
Okay. I have to do all the hard jobs, and she's gonna like try to investigate it.
Okay. As you step away from the river, leaving it behind you, it's at your back, you go in the direction that you heard these hoofbeats, retreat away, and again you hear the same voice with practically the same intonation say, "That's right, just a little closer."
You keep saying this. I'm not very trusting of it. She'll like yell after it.
You
It's like being way too friendly.
you continue forward until there is a clearing, and there are large boulders and rocks dotting the area, along with some fairly mature trees. But off in the distance, those three little points of light come into your field of vision again from a different direction from the direction you heard the hoofbeats go. But now there seems to be something somewhat in front of you. It's not right in front of you, but it's just beyond where your magical aura and light would cast. But you do see those 3 points of light.
Who's out there?
One last time you hear, "That's right, just a little closer." And at that, you would start to hear hoofbeats getting faster and faster and faster as this hideous creature appears in your field of view and is going to attempt to attack you. So go ahead and roll initiative. I will roll initiative for this critter as well. All right. This thing rolled a 17, so it will go first. And I literally probably could have just tossed a coin, but you know what? This also works because this works. So this creature won out, so it is going to attempt an attack. So I have its stat block here. This is going to attempt to attack with gnarled horns. So I'm going to go ahead and roll up a d20 for its attack to see if it hits. Oh, woof. I'm certain that's not going to hit. Does a 6 hit?
No.
I'm shocked. All right, it is your turn. I'm going to say that, yeah, it's not going to try and move or do anything else. It is just focused on attacking you. And I guess I should have described what this thing is now that it's right up close enough on you. It appears to be some sort of deer or stag, but it has an odd, almost sickly purple coloration, and it has 3 eyes instead of 2, and instead of 2 stalks of antlers, this has 4, and they sort of curve and swirl around in unnatural formations and patterns. And after this thing goes to attack you, emanating from this creature is this sort of strange, fleshy, rattling sound.
Oh, gods, you're disturbing.
That is the appropriate response to this situation.
Okay. All right, it's my turn now, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Coolio. She'll be like, okay, dude, I don't know what I did, but this is self-defense now. And she's just going to start, like, pummeling it.
Okay. Oh, also, I should have mentioned that since this took place before whatever damage or combat stuff that you used up from last time, you would be at full capacity for this fight, in case I didn't make that clear. So you should be operating at peak efficiency. Zana's got a full tank of kung fu fighting abilities.
Hell yeah, let's go.
All right.
All right. First punch.
First punch.
Well, damn, that's a 10.
That will not hit, unfortunately.
All right. Second punch.
Second punch.
All right, that's a dirty 20. I feel
Dirty
like that's better.
20. Roll damage. That definitely hits.
Okay. That's 9 damage.
Okay. 9 damage. All right. Got that. Cool, cool.
Right, and then I need to remember if it's 1 or 2. Okay, it's 1. I'm going to spend 1 key point to bonus action flurry of blows for 2
Ooh.
more attacks.
Heck yeah. Do it up. I always forget
Alright,
about how awesome the key points are.
Oh, yeah. So, first one is a 23.
That will most certainly hit. Roll damage for that.
Right. 8.
Okay.
And then the last one is a 26.
That will also hit. Roll damage.
That's 6 damage.
Very, very good. All right.
Like throw 1 punch and I whiff that, so I like just a bunch of more punches and kicks to compensate. And
Okay.
that's all I've got.
Alrighty. All right, I'm going to go ahead and mark this down, make an update on the health of this thing, which everyone can see on this view, so they know I'm not fudging anything.
Awesome.
No, I'm not.
I mean, I wouldn't blame you if you did.
I mean, you shouldn't have to. These things were supposed to be combat training wheels to get everybody, back into the swing of things. All right.
Yeah.
So you just level this thing with multiple punches, left and right. You're hitting them with the 1A. You're just absolutely pummeling this thing.
1A. 1A.
And the material that this creature is made of almost gives with your punches. It's strange. It's not like punching a regular organic creature where there's like resistance. This thing, whatever its structure is made of, is almost is absorbing your punches and sort of caving in, and even leaving some knuckle prints in the sides of it.
Ooh.
This creature is going to attempt a shriek. So obviously you came up against this last session, but this would be the first time that Zana experiences this. This creature rears back on its hind legs and is going to unleash a blood-curdling shrieking noise. And so you are going to have to roll a DC 13 Constitution saving throw to determine whether or not you will become frightened.
Coolio. Let's see. Con save is 17.
Very nicely done. This thing shrieks and it's very loud. But again, because of the light aura emanating from you, it's hard for this thing to catch you off guard because you can actually see what it's doing or see the lead up to this shriek, and you're able to sort of steel yourself against what it's trying to do. This thing, this thing is going to try to make a break for it. It's going to see that its shriek was ineffective and that you're standing your ground. So this creature is going to provoke an opportunity of attack and is going to try to run away from you. Let's see, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 feet away. And you can go ahead and roll to see if you can hit this thing before it gets away from you.
Hell yeah. That's a nat 20 for a 27.
Holy cow. All right. I mean, dang. I mean, even though... Roll the damage. Roll the damage. I want to see how much damage you do.
Gotcha. And I very rarely do nat 20s on attacks. That's double dice, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Either
so
double dice or you roll damage and then double it. I'd
that
have
will
to
be
get with.
easier.
Yeah, let's just do that for the sake of this. I think
Yeah.
that's how Mitch handled his crit last
Mhm.
session. I just can't remember at present. I need to actually come up with a firm decision on that.
Yeah.
But I think the easier way was to roll damage and then just double the amount.
Okay, that would make that a 20-point punch.
All right. How do you finish this thing? So I'm gonna say that it tries to break position, gets to
Mhm.
here. What do you do? How do you end this?
Um, you can't go wrong with, as since it's moving away, you can't go wrong with a flying kick.
Ooh, I love
It's
it.
like run and jump into it. Probably like a
So
little bit of a chase and then just bam.
just the most brutal bicycle kick, just sprint up and just level this thing.
Yeah, Wu
And
Kang.
yes, exactly, Wu Kang. This thing, just the immense amount of damage. I'm going to say, for flavor's sake, with that crit, when you go to kick this thing, the magical aura that's around you sort of swells with radiance, specifically channeling down to your leg and foot. And as you
Mhm.
get this kick, there is what I can only describe as a kind of arcane explosion. And
Ooh.
it's almost an odd delay where you kick this thing with your divine energy, and 1.5 seconds later, the torso and head of this thing erupt with a violent explosion as the pieces of this gross purple matter splatter and fly everywhere, and the carcass of this paraform hits the ground and sits there lifeless. And Zana, you have successfully defeated this pesky paraform.
Mm.
Well done.
She'll probably be really just mostly concerned with her shoes and her pants that have been splattered on. It's like, damn it, I didn't want to do laundry today.
Very well done. All right, I will make sure that this thing is wicked dead. Well done. Again, this was
Okay.
not training wheel battle so far between you and the other players. You guys have done spectacularly.
Hell
So
yeah.
I'm going to say that by this point, all daylight is completely gone. There was some
Mhm.
light still in the sky when you initially volunteered to gather water, but by this point, the light's gone. And the area where you guys traveled is not nearly as open as the fields and valleys in and around Montrace in the pasture lands. This area
Mhm.
closer to the cities and closer to Stokebalt is more wooded, and it's much harder to get your bearings on where things are. And as you look around, you realize that in the commotion of this battle, you don't know where you are in relation to the river. Because that thing would have led you on a bit of a merry chase before you arrived at the battle itself. And
Right.
so, what I'd
Okay.
like you to do is go ahead and roll an investigation check with advantage because of your light.
Okay. Said investigation.
Correct.
Gotcha. Sometimes my ears say intimidation. I'm like, no, that doesn't make sense.
Try to intimidate nature. No, it is.
Intimidate
It.
direction.
All right. Oh, okay. Cool.
15.
With a 15, it takes you about an hour because you have to work carefully. The fact that you're from the heavenly planes. Navigation, getting lost in forests, that doesn't really happen, you know? Navigation works differently on the mortal plane, being able to tell where you are in relation to other things. Mortal plane's much more confusing to your brain in terms of wayfinding. But you do know that you don't want to stray too far from the spot you just fought the paraform because you don't want to get double lost, essentially. It's like, I know the
Mm-hmm.
battle happened in this area and I wasn't too far from the river. So, working carefully, almost making a kind of spiral pattern, you work out and away from the corpse of this grotesque monster. And after about an hour, you come across a road.
Okay. Um, can I tell like where it leads?
That is an excellent question. Why don't you roll me a perception check?
Okay. Yeah, just looking for maybe any landmarks. Granted, it's dark, but I have dark vision, so 23.
Very nice. With a 23, you would be able to discern. You would be able to discern two things. First, the road that you're on seems to be pretty overgrown. It doesn't look well kept. So, figuring out what direction people are coming, going, that's not going to help you a whole lot because there's a lot of weeds, there's lots of rocks. It doesn't look like it's very well traveled, this stretch of road. However, you do see a structure off in the distance set against the sky. Its shadow is much darker than the sky, and you can make out that probably a mile off that there is some sort of a tower of some sorts.
Okay. Um, she'll run like a cost benefits
Mm-hmm.
equation in her head for a second. She's like, okay, it's dark outside. I'm lost. The others will probably be fine because they were in a group, so that's shelter for the night. Then, and she'll start moving towards that tower.
Okay. As you start making your way and picking through again over this uneven road, just as Zana is coming to that realization of, okay, this is a survival situation now, it's not the end of the world, I know I'm not too far from where they are, you hear distant peals of thunder and that some storm clouds are starting to blow through and that wind is starting to pick up. And the closer you get to the tower, the heavier the rain starts to fall. And just before you get completely soaked to the bone, you arrive at an old stone outpost. When you approach this structure, you can see that on the side of this dilapidated building, this structure made out of cobblestone, it's a very bare bones structure. It almost looks like a rook chess piece. It is just a cylinder with some walls up at the top, with a doorway at the base, and then stairs that wrap around the inside and lead to the top. Similar to maybe like a lighthouse, but this used to be
Mm-hmm.
some sort of outpost. And on the side of this structure, you see a very, very faded and overgrown sign with an arrow pointing further down the road to Yvray. And you see that in a flash of lightning as it momentarily lightens up the area so that way you can see it. But yes, by this point, rain is starting to fall very hard, and you make it into the outpost just in time.
Okay. This is good. This road is on the right way.
The door opens with very little resistance. Despite its age, it sort of swings and falls open, revealing a very old, dusty, and dirty interior considering that the area up above, where presumably people could walk up the steps and get out onto the top of this thing, that's just open to the sky. So you have to pick and choose where you're going to spend the night so you don't spend it underneath a spot where rain's going to be falling down on top of you. But to one side of this interior, it is dry. And again, with your magical aura, it's not pitch black by any means. Wherever you go, this light follows. And in an odd sort of way, there is an odd serenity to the situation. Because as you choose at like a dry spot to spend the night, the raindrops that are dripping down from the ceiling are getting momentarily illuminated by the magical light emanating off of you. So it almost gives the same vibe as when you see a rainstorm or a cloud burst when the sun is still shining. So the raindrops are being illuminated by the magical light that is emanating around you. And you didn't have much rest, as I said, on the day's travel. Mainly because of what you were thinking about, everything that happened in Montrace, what you were going to do once you reached Yvray. So you would have been pretty exhausted by this point. And I would say that time would be difficult to gauge, but I would say around this point, whether Zana would realize it or not, it's probably getting into that 10, 10:30, 11 o'clock-ish range. And yeah, that rain is just falling outside.
Well, it wouldn't kill a girl to get some sleep after a long day.
Okay. All right, I like it.
Nowhere.
I like it. All right. So you pass the night uneventfully. You get some rest, and a few hours later, you are awoken to the sound of voices. And when you open up your eyes, you see two youths staring at you. One is a tall elf with his face awash in confusion, and the other is a ruddy dwarf with her hair up in a bun. And as you open your eyes to intake this strange scene, the taller elf nudges his companion and says, "Shh, quiet, she's beginning to wake up."
Yeah, no shit. Hi, who are you?
The elf instinctively grabs hold of the hilt of a saber at his side, while the dwarf slaps his hand and says, "Oh, none of that. My name's Rolina Shaleborn, and this here's Ferulian Greybranch. We're students from the Mage College."
Oh, very cool. Hello, I'm Zana. I am not a student from any college.
The elf sort of looks confused when you say that, and Rolina chuckles to herself a little bit, and she says, "We were on our way to this outpost anyways, but when we saw that there was light emanating from the inside of it, we decided we needed to discover what was going on."
Oh, yeah, that's just me. I glow in the dark.
The elf turns to the dwarf and says, "You know, this could be quite useful. Perhaps this is just the lucky break that we need."
Hold on. Who is this? This is standing right here.
Rolina, again, sort of slaps him on the shoulder and says, "She's right, you know. You might start talking to her like an actual person instead of talking around her." The elf sort of takes that chiding and sheepishly looks your direction and says, "Well, you see, we were going to explore this outpost, but unfortunately, all of our fire-making supplies got wet from the rain, and we weren't going to be able to make a proper exploration, because it's not quite dawn, you see, and we must get back before too long. Otherwise, they'll notice that we're being truants.
Oh, I see, I see. So you need my help. Probably because of the glowing, because you have no fire.
Relina responds, "That's about the size of it."
She'll like think for a second. I don't know. I kind of have people I'm trying to get back to.
Where are you bound
Kind of got
for?
lost. Oh, me and my friends were my very best friends were going to go on whole adventures to Ivray and all that. And I stopped to go check out a river, and I got lost, and I fought this weird monster, and now I'm here.
I see. Well, we can take you all the way to Yvray if you're able to help us even for a few moments. That'd be more than helpful. We know a few shortcuts back to Yvray, places the students know about that the professors aren't privy to.
She'll like get like a little excited, like, do you mean like you have a bunch of secret tunnels or something?
You
Because that would be
see
pretty cool.
Ferulian, the elf, shoot a glance at Relina, and Relina looks at you and then gestures over at Ferulian and looks at him and says, "Does she look like the kind of person who would sell us out?" Ferulian looks down, looks over at you, and says, "I suppose it'd be all right. You would just have to promise not to tell anyone about the passages. The other students found out, we'd get in so much trouble."
You are in good luck because I'm fantastic at secret keeping.
Rolina would offer a hand to help you stand up.
Yeah, these people seem nice, like good people. She'll take it.
Okay. She would help you get to your feet, and the two of them would start making their way around the base of this fortification, just sort of looking around. And Rolina would turn to you and say, "I suppose we should explain what exactly we're doing. You see, Pointy Ears over here, he and I, were trying to do research into cursed items that might have been left behind on the old roads."
Oh. Oh, I'm a great person to talk to for this.
"Oh, really? Are you an expert in the old roads as well?"
No, but I have some cool tricks I can do with cursed items if you want them to be like not cursed so they're safe to study.
Ferulian and Relina would share a look at each other, and then Relina would respond, "Well, that's great to know. Are you familiar with the old roads? The places that used to connect Nostria before it was Nova Nostria, back before the Empire came and established all the new roads?"
Oh, I'm not from here. I'm visiting.
Ferulian would look at you up and down, Zana, and say, "That seems to be the understatement of the millennia."
Yeah.
Relina would
a lot.
Relina would say, "Based on the information we were able to acquire, it would seem that a long time ago, this building that we're standing in right now used to be used as a kind of a trap. It was a place where robbers would hide and waylay travelers along the road. Lots of murders and evil deeds were done out here. And based on that information, I think it's a very good chance that there might be some cursed items out here. You see, the bandit network used to trade in all sorts of illegal items that they would sneak out of Yvray. Cursed items, things that couldn't be sold in the public markets but could be sold on the black market. And since the old roads have been practically abandoned, shut down, the Empire came through, cleared out all the bandits, it's our working theory that maybe some of those cursed items got left behind.
Oh, okay. So you're just like trying to find them and like maybe learn more about them. Maybe it can tell you like history and stuff.
Ferulian would look in your direction and say, well, truth be told, even though we are both academics from the school, it also just so happens that the school is offering rewards to any students who turn in cursed items. You see, it's a whole initiative that the school is doing to ensure that all known cursed items aren't lost to the wind, you see. There are still many items unaccounted for.
Oh, so you want money for like
Rolina sort
whatever
of
price.
Rolina elbows him and says, that's only half the picture. It also just so happens that we're studying under the professorial guidance of Professor Spindle, and he's quite interested in cursed items as well. He says if we manage to bring him some items that we might be able to write some of our papers on them for school, you see.
Okay, I think I get it.
Under her breath, Rolina would say, but make no mistake, if we do find them, I will be turning them in for the bounty.
Well, I think I'll have time in my very, very busy schedule to stop for a minute and help you.
All right. As these two students start fanning out and looking under furniture, looking in old crates, Zana, why don't you go ahead and roll Arcana with advantage?
Okay. I was actually about to request that, so that's really funny. And then second one. All right, yeah, 16.
Okay. With a 16, as you sort of spin slowly, following the curvature of the room, it being a circle, essentially, you're sort of just scanning, looking around, taking the entire building in. And like the students said, it's not quite dawn. You can see the sky from outside of the hole in the top of the outpost where you could walk up and out of the steps onto the surface. And it's a dark blue, still very early. The sun has not yet fully come up. But between that and, again, the magical aura emanating off of you, in this warmer light, you just start focusing on the structure itself. And as you turn, you see a bookcase. And with that roll, you feel some sort of a pull or a draw in that direction.
Okay, I'll go check that out.
Okay. When you walk up to this bookcase, it is quite thick. It is very old. Most of the shelves have long since broken off, and the tomes that remain have been completely destroyed by time, by mold. None of the books themselves are of any value. They're all pretty much destroyed. But there is a hole eaten through the bookcase, and so you can see what lie beyond. And it's strange because the walls in all directions are made out of cobblestones. It's a rough rock structure. But when you look through this hole, presumably rotted through and fallen off, there's more wood behind it.
Okay. She'll be like, hey, I think I found something interesting over here. And she'll kind of like point to where she's been looking.
Rolina would walk up beside you, look up at you, because again, she's quite short, and she looks up at you, and then looks over in the direction that you're gesturing to, and she squats down, and she looks, and she says, "Ferulian, over here." And the elf walks over and says, "Did you find something?" And Rolina says, "I'm sorry, you said your name was Zana, right?"
Yes, this is correct.
"Well, Zana here says that something's off about this bookcase, and I think she's right. Look at the hole." And now all three of you are looking at it, and you notice, again, that there is wood behind the bookcase. And so, with a nod to each other, Rolina and Ferulian walk to the left and right of the bookcase and very, very forcefully shove and push and then dislodge this bookcase and topple it over out of the way, revealing a very, very old, rotted door.
Oh, secret entrance.
They both turn and look at you with smiles on their faces, very obviously excited about this find. Rolina playfully punches Ferulian in the shoulder and says, "See, I told you there was something out here."
I try opening the door.
Sure. Go ahead and make a strength roll.
Okay.
Just a regular strength roll.
Gotcha. Well, damn, that's an 8.
Okay. You go to open this door, and it is very, very stuck. So I'm going to go ahead and roll for... Ferulian's going to take a stab at this. All right. That is a modified 13. Now I'm going to roll for Rolina. Oof, that is a nat 1.
Woof.
So she goes to help. And her hand slips off of the knob and she falls backwards over the bookcase in the same motion as you and Ferulian pull the old door off its hinges, and it falls almost on top of Rolina, but she deftly gets out of the way at the last second. And Ferulian helps Rolina back up and says, "You might be right about the outpost having secrets, but that doesn't mean we go willy-nilly without being careful."
How are we supposed to know it would be stuck?
Ferulian looks at you and says, "I'm not saying you needed to know that. All I'm saying is if this place was once the home of backstabbing evil marauders, that we might want to take precautions. That's all I'm saying." Rolina rolls her eyes, looks at you, Zana, and says, "Well, if it's not too much to ask, I don't suppose you'd be willing to walk in front of us, seeing as how you're, bright."
She'll say that, and then Zana will be like, "Oh, thank you, I try." And then she'll walk through the door.
You and Rolina and Ferulian, you walk through the doorway, and there's an immediate set of winding steps, old stone steps, that curve in the opposite direction of the wooden steps that go up to the top of the outpost. These go down and around. And you make your way down there, and there are a lot of cobwebs, but that door seemingly did its job for the most part and kept most things out. You don't see any evidence of wild animals down there. For the most part, it looks relatively undisturbed, except for the bugs that have made their home down into this area. But as you walk, you approach a storeroom that is just full of packing cases, barrels, crates, and even one or two really old looking kegs that are on their side. And go ahead and roll investigation with advantage.
Okay.
Said investigation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I always triple check just to be sure.
Ooh,
It's a 22.
delightful. Very nice.
I think that's good.
So with you leading the way in front of Relina and Ferulian, you walk into the room, your light emanating brightly, and these two are drawn to maybe the more obvious things that are directly in front of them. But your experience in Montrace being down below Croyburn Manor, you immediately, your eyes go to sort of the back of the room, searching around for the places that might be hidden from sight on a cursory look. And you see in the back left corner of this storeroom that there is an old work desk with a metal lantern that there's no light emitting from it. It's just there collecting dust, an unlit lantern, several scraps of paper, and an old inkwell and quill pen.
Is there anything written down on the paper?
If you would like to approach the desk, you can do that.
Yeah.
As you make your way that direction, Relina and Ferulian, sort of taking in the room, would walk up sort of behind you as you approach the desk. And what do you say anything to them after, like, when you spot this desk in the back?
Yeah, she's like, oh, here's something. As she, like, goes to check it out.
These two look in your direction and then follow swiftly behind you. And Ferulian's the one who runs up to the desk, wide-eyed, and says, "These maps are antiques. I'm not sure how many hundreds of years old they must be. You see," and then he gestures to it, looking at you, Zana. "These maps are a complete and total layout of the old roads."
Oh, that's cool. This is good for your school thing, yeah?
Rolina goes to pick up one of these parchments. I'm going to make a roll for her.
Okay.
All right. She goes to pick up this very old parchment, this old map, and as she touches it, she winces and sort of doubles over and puts the back of her hand to her head and instinctively puts the parchment back on the desk and steps back away from the page. And she says, "Oh, that doesn't feel good."
Everything okay?
She stands back up. She looks at you, still rubbing her forehead and then massaging her temples. And she says, "I don't know what came over me. I touched it and it hurt."
Could this be one of the cursed things that you're looking for then?
Ferulian looks at you, confused, and says, "Who in their right minds would curse a map?"
Maybe somebody that doesn't want anyone else following them. I don't know.
Zana, go ahead and make another Arcana roll with advantage.
Okay. First one. Yeah, advantage is good. I'm going to take that.
Advantage really good. I'm gonna take that. That's a nat 20.
Nat 20. Okay.
There we go.
So here's what we'll say. When Ferulian asks that question, who would curse a map? You understand the magical cost of imbuing something with a curse. And you see that the map that these two have been touching, there are multiple of these maps on this desk of the same layout of the old roads. There are multiple, but only 2 are viable. The rest of them have so much water damage, they're really hard to make out. But on the map that both of them touched, you see that there is a red X on the map that Rolina touched.
Oh. That could also be it.
So what are you doing, Zana?
See. I'm going to see if anything happens if I pick it up. and
Okay.
Try to
Yeah. What
do the
I'd
thing.
like you to do is roll me a flat d20.
Okay. Flat D20. 18.
With an 18, you pick up this parchment. And the best way I can describe this from a magical perspective, from somebody who is as attuned to magic as you are, this almost feels like the magical equivalent of picking up a cat that's squirming to try to get out of your grasp, but in a magical sense. When you pick this thing up, it's almost as though the magic within it is almost trembling as you pick it up. And when you place your index finger on this weathered old map and you sort of trace the old road, your finger starts to approach the red X. And the closer your finger gets to that red X, the more intense the squirming magical feeling gets. And with your roll, you would see that on this map, you see Ivray, and you see Stokebolt Woods. And you see that this red X, as far as what you can suppose, based on the region of the country you're in, that this red X is denoting where this marauder outpost is. And again, the closer your index finger gets to this red X, the more this sort of insidious magical feeling gets. Until finally your index finger touches and completely covers over that red X. And again, with your roll, just as your finger glides over that red X, as your hand sweeps away, the X starts to emanate with a sort of orange light, and it shines, projecting that same X onto your face as Ferulian and Rolina look on, dumbfounded at what's going on. And then the magic fades, and you don't feel that magic tension there anymore. It's the same feeling that you had after touching that pendant in the Valley of Bones. Whatever strange, low-level curse that was on this thing is no longer there.
Okay, I think I fixed it.
She'll say as she turns back to the other two.
Ferulian, jaw agape, is just staring. And Rolina says, "All right, I believe you." And she holds out her hand, and she just very carefully, wincing as she does it, touches just her index finger and her thumb to the edge of the map. And then she opens an eye, and then she slowly takes it from your grasp, being very gentle with this map. And she looks over at Ferulian, who's still just staring. Rolina says, You know, it's not very polite to stare. And she places her hand under his chin and sort of lifts his jaw up to sort of snap him out of his reverie. And he says, "What in the world was that?"
I told you I have good tricks for cursed things.
Rolina
Like touching
still-
it and fixing it.
Rolina, still holding the map, looks at Ferulian and she nods and she says, "I'm not sure what she did, but I don't think it's cursed anymore." Ferulian would approach the desk and take up the second map and would hold it out to you, Zana, and says, "A map of the old roads must be worth... I'm not even sure how much gold this could go for on the open market. I reckon that we owe you. So here, you can take the map of the old roads. Now we each have one."
Oh, and everybody gets paid. This is good and fair.
Then,
Thank you very much.
about this time, Ferulian would say, "All right, a deal's a deal. We'll get you back into Yvray using our..." And then he sort of flutters his fingers, thinking about what to say. And then Rolina finishes his sentences and says, "Secret passages."
Yes. This is cool. This is like almost as cool as the other secret passages I found.
Again, the two of them share a quizzical look. After making one more spin through the storehouse, not finding anything else of value, the two of them lead you back up and out, just as dawn is breaking, and the sun, its bright orange glow, is just peeking over some of the mountains in the distance. And there's a very light fog in the air. And the two of them lead you outside to where their horses are tied up to an old tree. And Rolina, whose horse is closer to like a Shetland pony, hops on hers, and she comically looks to you and she says, "No offense, but I think you should probably ride with Ferulian."
This is probably a good idea.
So he would scoot up to give you some room, and the two of them would get their horses moving, and they would start taking you in the direction of Yvray. Now, the difference is they travel along this old road, which it sort of clicks in your own mind that your friends wouldn't have been on this road that you traveled last night because they were on the primary road. They wouldn't have gone to the old roads because you found it by accident. And that's not the way that Eustace would normally travel. So as you get closer and closer to Yvray, instead of joining back up with the main road, these two students make a very, very slight turn into the very edge of Stokebalt Woods. And it's unmistakable, the change that takes place from these crags and boulders and sturdy oak trees into a forest seeped in arcane magical energy. You can feel it. Just being in proximity to Stokebalt is intoxicating. The amount of life energy and magic in the wood itself, even the grass seems fuller and more healthy as they walk their horses and very carefully guide them over the large roots and between the trunks of these massive trees that would be almost like old growth forests in the United States, on like the Northwest. Massive trees. And they approach one tree in specific. And Ferulian not wavering, not turning his horse away, just keeps walking his horse in the direction of the base of this massive tree until you find yourself passing through some sort of an illusion. And then the road dips down, and when you look up above you, you can still see Stokebolt, but there's a crack or a gap above you where light is shining, and it's almost as though there's a sub-road where it drops down and goes under and maybe follows its way around and snakes through a part of the forest, but unseen. Ferulian would be the first one to tell you that, you know, the elves of bygone eras used to construct roads like this all the time.
Oh, they did a really good job. I never would have seen this happening. I
Well,
guess makes it a good secret road.
the hidden entrance back there was not the work of the elves. That was done by some of the first students of the Mage College. To disguise areas when students might want to go out and about, play hooky, that sort of thing. It's a secret that students are not supposed to divulge to anyone else.
What, do you get in trouble for playing with hooks?
Rolina looks confused, and so does Ferulian, and he sort of shakes off your question and says, anyway, freshmen aren't allowed to know about this. You have to work your way up to this sort of thing, you understand?
Oh, okay, so it's not like a day one kind of thing.
No, only those who are trusted with the information are supposed to. But, in all honesty, it was quite helpful to take this road when Professor Spindle advised us to head out this direction if we were studying the old roads.
I mean, yeah, it seems safer, all things considered.
So a few hours pass, and a while later, the low road cuts back up, and just as you crest up and out of this little area, you see the very top of the clock tower of the Mage College, the highest point in Yvray, and you see it off in the distance. Since the last few hours of travel, the rain clouds have parted, and the sun is now higher in the sky, and you can see Yvray in all of its glory. And Rolina says, all right, we shouldn't have any trouble getting back into the city. After all, Thedric is supposed to be the one letting us back in. We know Thedric. We have a deal.
Okay, and like, bringing back a mysterious third super cool person with you wouldn't, like, concern him?
Ferulian would say, as Rolina mentioned, Thedric is a friend of ours. It shouldn't be a problem. We can just say that you're, I've got it, a transfer student.
I suppose that is not lying.
Where should we say that you come from?
Oh, shit. The actual, the easier answer would be like Montrace.
The two of them again look at each other, say. Ferulian says, very well. If that's what you're going for. It doesn't happen very often that we get students from Montrace, but I think there might be one off the
Hey,
top
man.
of my head.
I know like 2 places on this plane of existence. Cut me some slack.
Rolina says, oh, stop your fussing. That'll work just fine. And Ferulian says, all right, if that's what you want to go for.
But I think a student from Montres would be much more believable than the alternative.
What's the alternative?
Oh, you know, heaven.
The two of them look at each other, confused as all get out. And
God, yeah.
Ferulian says, Yes, I suppose you're right. Perhaps Montrace isn't such a bad idea to use as your cover story.
See, much more believable.
As you guys approach the main gates of the city, which I will go ahead and get us over there now. As they approach with their horses, you look up and you can see some guards standing up on a wall. And as they approach, you can hear Rolina and Ferulian start whispering to each other in these hushed tones, and they sound sort of panicked.
Are we okay?
Ferulian, with like a fake smile on his face, says, Don't look now, but it would appear that Cedric is not on duty like he's supposed to be.
Okay, yeah, I will not be looking. That sounds like a problem.
Rolina says, Just relax, we'll think of something. And as they approach the gate, the guard at the top says, Identify yourself. And Rolina looks up and says, We're just students from the Mage College. We went out for a morning ride, and we're back. We're trying to get back to class before it starts, you understand? The guard waits a beat, goes quiet. And then you see the guard look down from where he's standing off to the side. He's up on this wall. You can't see what he's looking at, but he's looking at something. And then he makes a motion like he's nodding, and then he calls down to someone, and the gate starts lifting. And Rolina and Ferulian look at each other, confused and shocked. And Rolina says, Well, I suppose that worked, she says with almost a question mark at the end.
Maybe we're lucky.
As the gate lifts, standing in the middle of the road is a small, very snappily dressed goblin with a pair of pince-nez glasses pinched over his nose, with his arms confidently behind his back, just standing right in front of you guys as you enter.
Like give like this small awkward wave that she does.
I love it. Ferulian and Rolina, in unison, say at the same time, Professor Spindle!
Oh, that's what a professor looks like.
Professor bows courteously and, without saying anything, starts walking over to another small horse that he hops up upon, and then gestures with his hand for the three of you to follow him.
Okay. Well, assuming the other two go along, she'll tag in.
Yes, Rolina would file in behind him and would actually trot up beside him and just start whispering to the professor and pointing at Ferulian and you on the horse behind them. And as you make a right just after entering the gate, you start making your way towards what you can only describe as sort of like a Central Park area. There are 3 fountains and some beautiful arbory work, just some trees that have been very carefully tended to and watered and shaped in beautiful ways. And you walk in between these 3 fountains, and you can see that you're approaching a very, very large building with dark tiling that, even though you're not super familiar with this plane, you just get the vibes that this is a scholarly building for study. It's huge, and just the way that it looks is giving off that sort of vibe to you. And the closer you get to it, the larger you realize that this is, until you reach an area out front with some stables, and a woman comes out from the stables, starts taking people's horses and leading them back away. And Ferulian, Relina, and you and Professor Spindle are standing on these paving stones outside of this building. And Professor Spindle looks at you with very discerning eyes, takes off his pince-nez, and just sort of puts them to his mouth, taps them twice, and then gestures with his hands for the 3 of you to follow him. And he goes around the side of this building and opens up these 2 doors that are at an angle that almost look like they would lead to a cellar of sorts. And he leads you guys down through a dark passage that ends at some stairs and goes down. It just keeps going down and down and down until Ferulian turns to you, Zana, and says, "Not to worry. This is where the professor works."
Okay. This is secure.
Yes, this is
I
normal.
worry about nothing.
Relina pulls back away from the professor, who's walking quite quickly for someone of his stature, and she, in a more hushed tone, says, "I'm not sure you know much about this area, but you see, Professor Spindle used to be the assistant to Simeon Carlyle, who was one of the founders of the school. But the current leadership of the school, they didn't really trust Professor Spindle all that much, so they demoted him down into the basement library, the research division, you see."
Okay. I'm following so far.
Simeon Carlyle, he did a lot of bad things with magic. He might have been one of the school's founders, but some of his experiments were dangerous, and so the faculty didn't quite trust Professor Spindle. So they put him in charge of studying curses and sort of fixing and atoning for some of the things that Simeon Carlyle did.
Oh, so they gave him like the weird job because of somebody else.
Ferulian
Not
looks at
really
you,
fair.
Zana, and says, "Well, that might have been how he got the job originally, but he's taken quite a liking to it. I reckon there's not another person in all of Nova Nostria who knows as much about curses."
Yeah, we all find our calling, I guess.
You are led down into a very large chamber that has some small slit windows where light is coming through, and you can just smell the dust in the air. And so every ray of sunlight is just being illuminated and obviated by all these little specks of dust. And you just see tomes littered over these massive tables and these huge bookshelves off to one side. And this little goblin walks over to a desk also just cluttered with stuff, just various office supplies, papers, parchments, books, etc. And he hops up on a stool, essentially, to stand up behind this desk and gestures for the 3 of you to take a seat at a bench at the nearest table.
Okay, she'll take a seat.
It's at this point that Professor Spindle would hold out his hand and flex it forward a couple times, looking specifically at Relina, who goes into her supplies and pulls out the map that she took that had the red X on it, and she places it down in front of him. And she slides it forward. He reapplies his glasses, looks at it, looks up at the three of you, and just a very, very faint smile creeps across his face. And Professor Spindle looks at the three of you and just says, "Good. Very good."
I'm glad that you think so.
He looks at you, and then he says, "I have job for you."
A job.
"Yes, pay's good. Good pay."
Or like consistent employment.
For small
that's
time.
kind of neat.
For small time.
Okay, part-time, sure, whatever. She'll kind of is still approaching the idea with some excitement, but she's like, oh, not full-time, okay.
He hops down off of the stool, and he flips a chalkboard around off of some strange scrawling thing that he was working on. And you see that there is a chalk drawing of that same clock tower in the school, but there's a bunch of question marks around it, and some impact, almost lines and rays out from the direction of the clock tower. And he picks up one of those long professorial sticks that they use to gesture at things at boards, and he slaps the stick against the chalk drawing of the tower and says, "Explosion! Magical! Big, giant explosion!"
That does not sound good.
No, not good. Not good. Scent, curse, things everywhere.
Oh, okay.
Spindle will find them. All of them.
This is a good goal. It could certainly be helpful.
He takes his pince-nez off of his nose, taps them, and says, "Technically, his job. Must do it."
Well, yeah, but you can enjoy your work.
He shrugs.
Very helpful.
And again, Ferulian says, "There's nobody better." And Spindle humbly waves him off and says, "Innocents, civilian, children, might be hurt bad, if items not returned."
Right, okay. So, for the job, do you want me to go get them? Because I'm, cool with them. I'm good at finding stuff.
He hops back up onto his stool and gestures for you to come forward.
Okay, she'll step up.
He very gently takes your hand and pulls it, and then takes sort of like a looking glass with two little handles on the top, and he spins it, and he squints, closes one eye, and looks at the palm of your hand. Then he looks up at you, and he looks at Relina and Ferulian, who started talking to themselves, and their chatter just sort of fades into the background. They start going into the back to go check something. And Professor Spindle looks at you and says, "Angel folk."
Yes, that's correct. You're the first person to get that so fast.
Relina spoke. Spindle listened. She said you touch danger map. Did not hurt you.
Yeah, I kind of just like fix curse things by touching them.
He
It's a
stops and thinks for a
pretty cool
second.
trick.
He looks at you as though he's trying to decide something. Then he puts on a glove, and he opens up a desk drawer. And he pulls out a small music box, and he places it on the table in front of you. And he says, "If want job, touch music box."
Okay, no problem. Just touch the music box. She'll like sort of like offhandedly say to herself, and then she'll pick it up.
Okay, roll me a flat d20 again, please.
Okie dokie. Bink.
Excellent.
Baller.
With a 16, your hand slides over the lid of this music box. And you flip it open, and it is a more complex music box than you've ever seen. Instead of one figure rotating in the middle, this gentle tune starts playing, but there is a small circle of dancers that sort of spin around a central point. And the first thing your mind thinks back to is the autumnal dance at the carnival. It's just these figures moving around in this circle. And this gentle tune is playing as these little metal tines are being struck by the tiny little notches on the cylinder, and this song plays. And you feel an unnatural amount of sorrow as you watch these dancers move about. The only way that I could describe it is almost as if you're a wallflower at a party watching people dance, and you so badly want to join them, but you can't. And you feel that for just a moment. But the longer you hold this box in your hand, the more that feeling starts to die away until nothing. It's just a box. Nothing more. And the professor takes the fingers of the gloves, pulls them forward, pulls the glove off, and then very carefully holds the box in his hand, sets it down on the table, and he says, "Called slow curse, not regular curse. Slow curse."
It makes you really sad.
Some, yes. Some, yes.
Does it
Music box. Soaked up. Bad. Like sponge. Not curse from mage. Slow curse.
Also, did it like gather the curse like over time?
He
instead of,
nods.
like all at once.
He nods, and he motions with his arm, rolls up his sleeve, and then takes his fist and sort of mimics a punch and says, "Evil magic." And then he slams it into his arm and then says, "Magic bruise. Slow curse."
Oh. So it needs to like properly heal over time.
Curse
Kind of.
needs somewhere to go. Magic. Energy. Restless. Until find spot to settle.
Okay.
He holds a finger up, and then he takes out a parchment, and he places it down on the table in front of you. And at the top, you can read, it says, "Item Manifest from Simeon Carlyle's study." And there is a list of several items on that list, with little illustrations in the margins of these items. You see the music box that you just touched is on that list. And as you're reading the list, the professor unceremoniously marks that one out. And he points at the other items on the list and says, "Unaccounted for. Spindle will find them. You will find them too."
Okay. Okay. I can do that. I'm really good at finding things. Except for the time I got lost. But it's fine.
He smiles, puts his glasses back on, and says, "You keep map of old roads."
Mm-hmm.
He
Is
gets a serious look on his face, and he says, "Keep quiet about map."
Oh yes, I tell the other two I'm really good at secrets.
Some disrespect old roads, mistrusting of people interested in them. Be careful.
I am the most careful, I promise you. Don't even worry about it.
He looks down at his desk, just a pile of stuff, and says, "Spindle will find you tomorrow, yes?"
Yeah, that works. It'll be fine.
"You go now." And he sort of flutters his fingers, and Rolina approaches you and says, "Well, I suppose we'll probably be seeing a little bit more of you around the college."
Oh, probably. It's good to have people I know around here.
She
And I
picks
always
up
like new friends.
She picks up the manifest as you say that, and she hands it to you, this paper with the items. And Spindle taps the back of it and just says, "You watch for these. Watch them."
Oh yeah, I'll keep an eye out.
Zana, go ahead and roll perception with advantage.
Okay. Damn, okay, 11 on advantage.
All right. With an 11, you are scanning this manifest, and there are several items on there. One of the items, again, that has an illustration over in the margins is some sort of ring. And the only thing that you notice about the drawing is it doesn't look like there's any stone in the setting of the ring.
Uh-huh.
That's like the one item that stands out, and you'd have to take a longer look at the list later. But Ferulian ushers you and his dwarven friend out and says, "The professor must get to work. He's very curious to research this map, you see. Perhaps she could go stay at the blind man's bailey for a bit? I'm not sure where you're going to stay. Well, oh, that's right. We must get you back together with your friends."
Yeah, they're probably like super lost without me. I'm kind of worried for them.
Rolina says, "I've got it. Let's go back to the gate. Maybe they've got into town, or maybe they've heard something."
It would be a good place to check.
So the two of them lead you back up and out of Spindle's library, out squinting into the light, even though by this time it's been many hours since you've gotten to Ivray itself. Even getting to the college was a bit of a trek. And so by this point it's getting towards, by the latter half of the day, evening into, or afternoon into evening stretch, and they start walking you in the direction of the gate. They don't bother with the horses, they just walk.
Mm-hmm.
And they walk you back down past the gardens in the center, and Zana, you see even though you passed it, but you didn't really notice what it was, but you see just a huge building that is cathedral-like in construction that has all of these little archways that have different panes of stained glass that have sigils of every deity you can think of.
Oh, everybody's here. That's cool.
Cerulean looks over at Rolina and then looks at you and says, well, of course, all the proper gods are, represented in the stained glass, of course. Then again, if we don't have any worship places for Bahamut, hopefully that's not a problem for you. I'm not sure if you worship Bahamut where you're from.
No, I mean, like, we kind of rock with, like, everything in heaven, because that's where they all live. What's, like,
Rolina
a proper god?
Rolina
Bro,
looks
what
has Rolina looks shocked when you say that, and she says, all right, look, I like you a lot, but if you're going to stay in Yvray, you might not want to talk about Bahamut at all.
Oh, you, like, piss somebody off or something?
Cerulean finishes her thought and says, well, you see, Nova Nostria does not consider Bahamut to be a god.
Oh. So, like, they just don't count him. They think he's, like, some other thing.
Rolina says, the idea of a dragon being a god, I just don't think it makes a lot of sense. Mind you, I'm not as close-minded as some of the old folk. They're much more vehement about their beliefs.
That's really weird. Gods could be, like, anything.
They keep walking you past the temple and past the three fountains. And then they make a turn. They follow you past this beautiful tree line to a humble, smaller building with dark blue roof tiling. And you see that there's a large cart out front tied to a pole that you can instantly see is, in fact, the cart that your companions were riding in.
Oh, I think my friends are here then, because that's our cart.
Cerulean says, oh, well, we were just going to stop in for a drink before taking you to the guardhouse, but if your friends are here, I suppose we've held up our end of the bargain.
I suppose.
Rolina would Rolina would hold out her hand for a handshake and say, glad we ran into each other.
Zana will shake her hand and be like, me too. No, I think my friends would really love you guys. Like, you kind of remind me of my friend Everin a little bit.
Rolina, doesn't really know how to respond. She's, oh, that's nice. But Cerulean and I need to get back to our studies before we get in trouble.
Okay, I'll let you go. Maybe I see you later.
She shrugs. She says, If you'll be working with Professor Spindle, it's more than likely.
Okay, then no goodbyes. I will just see you later.
Cerulean also extends his hand to shake yours and says, pleasure to meet you.
And it is good meeting you, friend. Next time we talk, please make sure we start by talking to me first. Earlier was okay. Mistakes happen, but, like, don't talk around people.
He nods, sort of ashamed, and Rolina smiles, and they walk back off in the direction that they came from, back to the Mage College. And when you look in through the window panes of the blind man's bailey, you can see Everin and Marco, but you see another person with their... You can't really make out their features because of the glass. Everin and Marco are pretty unmistakable, but there's one figure that you can't really make out. There's just a lot of patterns and a lot of colors. And then there's another person, shorter, who's sort of in between the weird person with the weird clothes and Marco who's talking. And then there's a person sitting way back at a different table. And it looks like they're having a lively conversation. And that is when Zana walks into the blind man's bailey, which catches us completely up with where the paraform fight happened in the main session. But that is going to do it for this little side quest of Zana's. So we'll do a couple more of these. I'm super excited for them, and this was a lot of fun. Thanks.
This is very good.
Awesome. All right, cool.